What's going on, everybody? Here we are back with another Pick'em video. We're back for the fourth week of the NFL season. I can't believe we are already on to week 4. This season is just flying by. But anyways, let's go ahead and jump right into it. So overall, we're 36 and 12, and last week we went 11 and 5. If you picked the picks that I put in my video, you would have gone 12 and 4. But for whatever reason, I had some sort of a gut feeling, and I changed a pick. I went and I switched from the Commanders to the Raiders. I had a gut feeling about that game. I just didn't exactly know all the reasons why, but I just had a gut feeling that the Raiders were going to win, and I thought I could gain a game on everybody in the Pick'em League, and instead I gave one to everybody. So hopefully you followed my picks and didn't do something stupid like that and go pick the Raiders 25 minutes before kickoff. But anyways, that's what I did. So I went 11 and 5 last week. Not the best week, so let's get back on track here. Starting off right away with Thursday night football, we have the Seahawks going to Arizona to play the Cardinals. The storyline here is no James Conner, out for the season. That's such a bummer. Love James Conner. He's been just an animal his entire career. He's getting up there in age, and this injury is definitely going to be tough for him to come back from. But nonetheless, Cardinals got to keep going. The Cardinals did not look all that great last week. Their offense looked confused. There was bad play calling and time management, and they've been relying on their run game quite a bit, which hasn't been great, but it's been okay. Now with no James Conner, we're definitely going to wonder what we're seeing out of them. Especially Seattle's run defense has been good. Their defense overall has been holding teams to less than 16 points per game, which ranks second in the NFL. They've had a couple of cakewalk games, but I mean, Seattle's defense does look really good. Arizona's secondary is really banged up still again this week. I don't know necessarily who's all going to be returning, who's playing. We'll find that out here soon. But their secondary is really banged up, and they're third worst in the NFL in passing yards allowed this season with 793 yards. Just not a good recipe, I think, for the Cardinals going up against a good run D, facing a team whose passing game's been surprisingly good this year. Sam Darnold's been, a surprise to me at least. So I just don't think it's the best matchup for the Cardinals going up against that Seattle run D and Seattle's passing game going up against the Cardinals' bad and injured secondary. So I've got Seattle taking this game. I could see them covering the spread here too. I could definitely see Seattle running away with this one. Next up, we've got the Vikings going to Dublin to play the Steelers, but Vikings going to be on the road. Steelers losing a home game because they're going to be in Ireland here this Sunday. We got an early morning kickoff. The Steelers, I won't say won that game last week. I think the Patriots lost that game. 5 turnovers. I think 3 fumbles, 2 from Ramondre Stevenson, 1 from Antonio Gibson. Just a bad game from the Patriots. And the Steelers, I won't say looked good last week. I think the Patriots just lost that game. Vikings looked fantastic against the Bengals last week, specifically that defense. Isaiah Rodgers with 2 touchdowns defensively. Just an awesome defense, and that's what's going to help them stay in and win games going forward, especially, with Wentz, backup QB under center, who didn't look bad last week. I don't think he was driving the ball downfield or anything like that, but he did all right. I think another week of Wentz under center for the Vikings, he's going to look more comfortable. He might drive the ball downfield just a little bit more to Jefferson. Jordan Addison is going to be coming back, so that could open things up a little bit for this Vikings offense. I'm not very confident in what the Steelers are doing right now. They're still really injured on the defensive side of the ball. I can't say they've thrilled me with their performance at any point this season. Rodgers looks okay at best. And I just think this Vikings defense is really going to cause fits for the Steelers. So I will be going with the Vikings beating the Steelers in Ireland with Carson Wentz as their quarterback. Next up, we got the Commanders going to Atlanta to play the Falcons. This is, I think this game could go one of 2 ways. I could see the Commanders just absolutely dominating this game like the Panthers did to the Falcons last week, or I could see it being really close. Falcons laid a massive egg last week. I kind of thought it was going to be a little bit of a coming out party for that offense. London being more healthy with that shoulder injury healing up, Mooney being back, Penix, his 3rd game starting this season. I just saw this offense probably coming together a little bit last game, and it absolutely did not. They looked absolutely horrible. I think a lot of people were surprised that the Panthers were able to just go out and dominate them on both sides of the ball, and that makes the Falcons really hard to trust. That's why I'll be picking the Commanders in this game. The Commanders have been running the ball pretty dang good with that committee backfield and the combination of Jaden Daniels and Mariota under center, with some scrambles and a few design runs here and there. And when the Commanders run the ball, they play really, really good. When they are a balanced football team, they play well. Things to monitor this week is definitely Jaden Daniels. Is he going to be back? Is he not? I don't think they need to hurry him back if they don't feel like he's 100%. I wouldn't be mad if I'm a Commanders fan of them starting Mariota. He did good last week. And then also the Terry McLaurin injury, I think could be a big deal. It looks as of right now that he will not be playing on Sunday, but definitely monitor that injury. I think even if Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin are out, I'm still taking the Commanders. The thing that it does, just having Terry on the field, is it opens up that deep threat a little bit more, and teams can't stack the box quite as much as they would without him. Deebo Samuel is not necessarily a big deep threat. He's more, he runs the ball sometimes outside zones, more of an underneath between the numbers kind of guy. So that would be tough with no Terry. The Falcons will be able to hone in on the run game and the short passing game a lot more. So I really do hope that he does play. I think that would make it a much easier choice to pick the Commanders in this game. But all around, the Commanders are just a better football team, and that's why I'll be picking them in this game. Next up, we got the Chargers going to New York to play the Giants. And the storyline here, you can see it on the screen, Jackson Dart is going to be starting on Sunday. Wow. Why in the world would the Giants sign Russell Wilson to bench him after 3 games? Yes, Russell Wilson makes some weird, crazy, dumb throws regularly. But at the same time, he's shown flashes. He's been good, but also really bad. But you couldn't have expected Russell Wilson to just come out and be an absolute baller. So why did you sign him if you knew you were just going to go draft a quarterback and then bench Russ 3 weeks in? Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Poverty franchises stay impoverished because of decisions like that. And that's going to be interesting. I'm excited to see Jackson Dart. I've got a lot of confidence in him as a quarterback. I don't necessarily know how good he's going to do on Sunday or the rest of the season, or even with the Giants. They seem to just be a cursed franchise. But I am excited to see him get out there and start this week. The Chargers look really good. They have just been really, really dominant on both sides of the football this season. That Najee Harris injury is really tough. I like Najee a lot. I think he's a really great complement to sub in and take a few carries for Hampton here and there. Khalil Mack out. Fortunately, did not suffer a terrible injury. It sounds like he's going to be back here in just a few weeks. But the Chargers are just a really, really good football team. And I just don't see a world in which the Giants have a quarterback change, a rookie comes in, and they go and they beat a team that is playing really sound football. So I'll be picking the Chargers in this game. Next up, we've got the Lions playing the Browns, and let me just say this. Man, that sucked as a Packers fan last week. The Browns have a great defense. They truly do, but the Packers lost that game. Similarly to the Patriots, I don't think the Browns won that game. I don't think the Steelers won their game last week. I think the Packers handed the win to them, specifically with Jordan Love. We'll get into that a little bit more in a second. Obviously, I'm not super stoked about that as a Packers fan, but I just want to say don't get too excited about the Browns. They have a very good defense. We all knew this. Schlesinger looked really good last week. I think he's going to be a pretty good linebacker in the NFL, but just don't get too excited with them. Browns have an extremely good run D, best in the NFL right now, and the Lions have an extremely good run game. So I'm excited to watch that clash, the Titans there at the line of scrimmage. I really just don't think there's any holding back Gibbs and Montgomery. That Lions offensive line is starting to come together. It looked pretty bad in that first week against, or when they played the Packers there, and I expect the Lions to really get on track with the running game again this week. They ran all over the Ravens last week. I don't think they're going to run all over the Browns. They might take the path of least resistance a little bit and throw the ball downfield to Amon-Ra and Jameson Williams, maybe even Tesla a little bit. There's just not that many guys who can cover those fellas on the Browns. So I do see the Lions winning this game easily. Hopefully, the Browns can go out and do what they did to us last week and help the Packers out a little bit, but I think the Lions are going to get it done. Next up, we got the Panthers playing the Patriots, And this is a really tough one. I think the Patriots are like 3-point favorites in this game, but I can't say I'm super confident in them, especially after last week. Patriots are a young, inexperienced team, and they're showing that with turnovers and penalties and not showing up in the big plays. Carolina looked really good last week. They're a confident football team. They seem to be a very much momentum-based football team. We saw that a lot last year. They started really, really bad. They gained some momentum and finished the year strong. Seemed to be starting this year pretty bad with those first two games, and then came out last week and just absolutely hammered the Falcons. So I am going to be picking the Panthers to get an upset in this game. I'm just not super sold on the Patriots right now. Long term, I am sold on the Patriots. This is definitely a really tough game to pick. It's a coin flip game for me. But the Patriots have the fourth worst passing defense right now. And I just need them to come out and do something better. I think Gonzalez could definitely change things for this passing defense once he's healthy, especially if he's healthy this week and he's guarding Ted McMillan. Then I will be taking the Patriots. Let me actually just say that. So I'm picking the Panthers right now. If Gonzalez plays on Sunday, he will be guarding Ted McMillan, and I think the Patriots will win that game specifically because of that. So I'm kind of leaving it at that. I'm not really giving you guys a firm choice here. Today, I'm picking the Panthers. They're selected in my pick'ems, but if Gonzalez is healthy, if he's a full go on Sunday, I will be picking the Patriots because I think they'll just black Ted McMillan. I think they'll be able to shut down the run just enough for them to pull out a win. So we're kind of leaving this one in the air. Starting with the Panthers. If Gonzo plays on Sunday, we're going to be going with the Patriots. Keep an eye out in the comments for any updates with that. I'll definitely update who I go with for my final decision, but that's just kind of where I'm at now with that. Just a hard one to pick without that injury news being clear. Next up, we've got the battle of the 0-3s, the Titans versus the Texans. One of these teams is going to get a win this week. Well, I shouldn't say that. They could tie. They could be 0-3-1, but more than likely, one of these teams is going to get a win this week. The Texans' offensive line has continued to just be miserably bad. It's so bad. C.J. Stroud is just horrible versus the blitz, so teams are just sending the house versus the Texans. I expect the Titans to do that again. And the Titans are also really, really bad against the blitz as well. And they're going up against Will Anderson and Daniil Hunter, one of the best edge rushing duos in the league. I think that's why I'm really going to be going with the Texans in this game over the Titans, is mostly just because of the Texans' defense. I think it's going to be hard for the Titans to really get anything going on offense this week. So that's why I'm going to be going with the Texans. I don't love the 7-point spread that the Texans are getting. If I was a spread better, I'd definitely be going for the Titans side of the spread, maybe parlaying Titans spread with the under here. But overall, I think the Texans just win this game with more talent on the defensive side of the ball. Next up, we got the Eagles at the Buccaneers. This should be an exciting one. I'm definitely really disappointed in all the injuries that the Bucs are facing right now. If that wasn't the case, I think this would be a much harder game to pick. I will be going with the Eagles, but let me get into why. So likely no Mike Evans on Sunday. It sounds like he's going to be out for like 3 or 4 weeks, which is just a bummer. Hamstring just continues to nag on him. It seems like in the last few years, he's always missed a couple weeks with that hamstring. Sounds like maybe no Tristan Wirfs as well. Cody Mosh out for the rest of the season. We might be seeing Godwin on Sunday. I can't imagine he's going to be, out there every snap if we do. So we're really looking at like Egbuka and Shepard here for the receiving core for the Bucs. And yeah, Egbuka's had a great season so far, but I just don't think him and Shepard are going to really be able to get it done. Bucky Irving's a great running back, but he hasn't been necessarily overly efficient this year. He's going for 3.1 yards per carry. I just don't see the Bucs beating the Eagles in this game. I don't think that they're going to be able to run the ball real well against the Eagles. I don't think they're going to be able to throw the ball downfield as much as they'd like to, just with all those injuries with the offensive line and the receiving core for the Bucs. A couple interesting things, though, is that in the last 5 matchups since 2021, the Bucs have won 4 out of 5 of those matchups. Todd Bowles seems to have the Eagles' number. I think he's going to have a good game plan for Sunday, and he can keep this game close. But it's just a really difficult matchup here for the Bucs with all those injuries. Can't say the Eagles have looked overly great so far this season. The passing game's been pretty weak. The defensive, the secondary in particular with that defense hasn't looked all that great. So the Eagles really do look beatable. I just don't think it's the greatest matchup this week for the Bucs with all those injuries. So I will be picking the Eagles this week. Next up, we got the Saints at the Bills. We don't need to talk about this one for too long. Bills are 16.5-point favorites. They look really, really good on both sides of the ball. James Cook is an absolute monster, continues to just run all over teams. So obviously we're going to be picking the Bills in this game. Saints haven't inspired a whole lot of confidence at all this season. You know, they've had flashes that are good, but in all reality, that roster is just not ready to compete. They don't have the talent for it all across the board, from offensive line to the weapons to the defense to the quarterback position. They just don't have the pieces to get it done. So we'll be going with the Bills in this one. Next up, we got the Jaguars going to San Francisco to play the 49ers. This could be a tough one to call. 49ers are favorites. Some things to monitor for sure this week is the Brock Purdy situation. Will he play on Sunday? Will he not? Going to be similar to kind of the Carolina New England game with that one. We'll keep you updated. I'll get into my choice here in just a second. Juwan Jennings doesn't necessarily know if he's going to be playing yet. It seems like he's not going to be playing this week, which would definitely be tough if Purdy and Jennings are both out. Nick Bosa obviously just went down for the rest of the season. I think that's going to be a huge hit to this Niners defense. So the injury bug's really bugging the Niners here so far, and that's tough to just continue to win through all those injuries. They've started 3-0. They've managed to pull it out to this point. But this can be a test for them on Sunday. They're playing the 2-1 Jaguars, who have been surprising me with their strengths this season. Their secondary has been really, really good. They've been second in the NFL in coverage grade so far this season, which I just never expected. I think their defensive coordinator is the MVP so far this season for them. And the Jags offense has looked really, really good. I think Liam Cohen has turned this offense around. He did it with the Bucs and Bucky Irving and that zone run scheme that they ran last year. He's taken that over to Jacksonville and doing it with the Jaguars. ETN is looking really, really strong. That offensive line is looking pretty good. The thing that has been biting the Jaguars so far is the drops. They have 13 drops, which is 3 more than the Cowboys, who are the next team with drops. So that's just something that the Jaguars have to fix. You can't have 13 drops through 3 games, But I do just recognize that's something that's very fixable. And if the Jaguars can figure that out, I think they could be very dangerous. Jaguars are really good at defending in between the numbers. They rank first in coverage grade there. That's where the 49ers love to attack, especially if Mac Jones plays backup quarterback. Purdy will throw it outside the numbers a little bit more, but he's still an inside the numbers kind of guy. So if the 49ers really want any chance at winning this game, they're going to have to attack downfield outside the numbers, going after Campbell and Hunter. If they're going to win, Pearsall's going to need to have a big game. I think McCaffrey's going to have a harder time receiving this game than he has in the past couple, specifically with Devin Lloyd and Oluwakan. Those guys are really good coverage linebackers, and they're going to be all over him. So I will be picking the Jaguars in this game. I think even if Purdy comes back, I will probably still be picking the Jaguars in this game. You know what? Let's lock it in right now. Jaguars, no matter what, Purdy in, Purdy out, we're picking the Jaguars to get the upset on the road in San Francisco. I think they're going to square those drops away just a little bit better this week. Maybe Travis Hunter plays a little bit more on offense this week, maybe not needing him so much on defense with just not as many weapons for San Francisco that are healthy this week. I think the Jaguars are trending in the right direction, and I'm going to continue to pick them going in the right direction and get the upset over the 49ers this week. Next up, we got the Colts at the Rams. And man, the Colts just keep winning and keep looking good. Jonathan Taylor and that offensive line is really, really, really good. The Colts have they never have negative plays. They got the least number of negative plays in the NFL, and that's just helping them stay ahead of the downs. That it's not forcing Indiana Jones to go out and throw third and long passes. It's giving them play action and short passes and run on third down opportunities, and that's how the Colts have won these games so far. The Rams have also looked really good. They definitely choked away a win last week. They absolutely should have had that. That two field goal blocked in the fourth quarter is just so lucky for the Eagles. Eagles should have lost that game. I thought about picking the Rams in that one, but I just trusted that the Eagles would win. was pretty nervous for the most part. The Rams just really threw that away with special teams there at the end, but they did look good for the most part. When Stafford has time and a clean pocket, he's an absolute beast. And the Colts haven't been necessarily great at creating pressure this year. They run a lot of zone. Stafford tears up zone defenses. So I expect Stafford to kind of sit back and tear up this Colts defense a little bit. Rams also have a pretty good run defense with Braden Fisk, Poona Ford. Those guys have been really, really good this season. So altogether, I think it's a tough matchup for the Colts. I think the Rams match up good against them. I think the Rams are also the better football team, so I'll be picking the Los Angeles Rams to send the Colts their first loss of the season here. Next up, we got the Bears and the Raiders. Two games I got wrong last week. I had the Cowboys beating the Bears. I originally had the Raiders beating the Commanders, but something just told me to pick the Raiders. I don't know. I thought they were going to figure it out a little bit. The Raiders' offensive line was good last season. They have been horrible this season. They've been absolutely horrible, and it's been their kryptonite. If they want to win any games, if they want to compete, they're going to have to figure out that offensive line. I'm not really sure what Pete Carroll is doing there with that offensive line, but they're definitely going to need to figure that out. Bears offense finally looked really good last week. They were playing Dallas, whose defense looks pretty bad, so take it with a grain of salt. But Caleb looked good, connected with Rome on a couple of big plays. Bears used a lot of motion last week. That was definitely an interesting change in trends versus the first 2 weeks. They used a ton of motion last week. And the interesting thing about this matchup is the Raiders are very, very bad against motion. I think they're the worst coverage grade in the NFL against motion. So I expect Ben Johnson, the Bears, to use a lot of motion again this week. Ben Johnson's really good at using that motion to move the zones to create windows for passes. Raiders run a ton of zone. They're not good against the motion. So I think the Bears are going to be able to expose that defense just a little bit with motions, finding open zones. And I'm just really not confident in that Raiders offensive line. So until the Raiders O-line figures it out, they're going to need Geno Smith to just be an absolute flamethrower. And I don't have the confidence in Geno Smith to do that week in and week out. So I will be picking the Bears this week. I hate to do it. I just don't like the Bears. I'm not confident in the Bears. I'm a Packers guy, so I don't like picking the Bears. But I do have the Bears getting the win this week. Next up, we got the Ravens at the Chiefs. And if we were told that these two teams would be 1-2 at the beginning of the season, everyone would be like, there's no way. But here we are. The Ravens are 1-2. My original pick to win the Super Bowl, and the Chiefs are 1-2. So I can't say I'm feeling awfully great about my Super Bowl prediction with the Ravens beating the Eagles. Neither of those teams have thrilled me so far this season, but let's get into this matchup. Ravens defense is good on paper, but are grading out incredibly bad so far this season, especially against the run. And I think that's really, really important for the Chiefs because they've been very one-dimensional this season. They would love to be running the ball and playing good defense, especially with Worthy and Rice not being out there. That's more their identity, but they've been forced to pass the ball because their run game's been so inefficient with Pacheco and Hunt so far this year. So I think the Chiefs are going to look to be more balanced on offense this week, try to get back on track with the run game, with the defense playing strong like it kind of more used to. So I think Chiefs definitely have an opportunity to kind of be more balanced this week. Arrowhead's a tough place to go and win, especially a get-right game. The Ravens haven't necessarily had things clicking so far this season. Derrick Henry's been pretty inefficient, not to mention the fumbles, which is so not typical of him. So I think, this is going to be a really tough matchup for the Ravens. They are favored, and I will be picking the Ravens in this matchup. I think they're just the better football team right now. I think the Chiefs are going to say to the Ravens, you're going to need to throw the football in this game. Tell Lamar, you're going to have to go out and throw the ball to Bateman, to Zay Flowers, to Mark Andrews, who magically had a 30-point game as soon as I dropped him off my fantasy teams last week. So I think they're going to force Lamar to throw the ball. I think the Chiefs are going to try to be more balanced on offense. But ultimately, I just think the Ravens are the better football team, so I'll be picking them. Although I will be very, very surprised if this game doesn't come down to a last-second field goal, a game-winning drive, a turnover to seal it, something along those lines. I think this game's going to come right down to it. Next up, we got the Packers at the Cowboys. Packers last week was genuinely just embarrassing. I think the offense just was not clicking. The defense looked good as it has the entire season. We were playing the Browns, so it was just, whatever. But the Packers offense looked so bad last week, and Jordan Love just gave the game away. It's my biggest hit on Jordan Love is he shows flashes of greatness and flashes of really, really bad play. And last week we saw that from him, especially with that interception at the end of the game to just hand it to the Browns. But the storyline here is Micah Parsons' revenge game. He's been absolutely great for the Packers, and the Cowboys' defense has been absolutely miserable without him. I've got the Packers winning this game. I expect Josh Jacobs to have a good game running the ball here. I just expect the Packers to have kind of a get-right game here on offense against this weak Cowboys defense. And then the Cowboys without CeeDee Lamb, I think, are going to have a really hard time moving the ball against this really, really strong Packers defense. I really hope Micah goes out and gets like 2 sacks and 5 pressures in this game. I think that would be freaking awesome. Just him to go out and have his mega revenge game. I know he's got a bitter taste in his mouth from Jerry and leaving Dallas and that whole scenario. So I got the Packers winning this game, and I sure hope Micah has a big game. Next up, we got the Jets at the Dolphins, and both these teams are just so bad. It's the battle of the 0-3s. If they could both lose this game, they would. These teams are just terrible. The Dolphins have showed some signs of life, as well as the Jets have. But I'll just say this, effort is a really important thing, and the Jets have consistently battled through the preseason, through all of their games. They haven't given up, and they've shown a lot of grit. The Dolphins, I would say, have been the opposite of that. Yes, they did come back a little bit against the Bills last week to tie that game up in the fourth quarter, but the Dolphins just look like they don't want to be out there. Seriously, I mean, they don't look happy. They don't look like they're putting in the effort. And the Dolphins' run defense should be good. They should have a fairly talented defensive line, with Chop Robinson, Zach Sealer. But it's been really, really bad this season. So I could see the Jets running the ball on the Dolphins. I could see the Jets having more of a ball control, time of possession, try to play okay defense type of game and win it. I am picking the Dolphins to win this game. I think their athleticism on offense is just going to be a little bit too hard for the Jets to handle. At some point, the Dolphins are going to have a little bit of a breakout game on offense. They could still lose that game when that happens. It could happen on Sunday. It could happen in 4 weeks. Who knows when it's going to happen? I don't know. I don't feel good about either of these teams, but I'm going to be picking the Dolphins in this one. Last up, Monday Night Football, we got the Bengals at the Broncos. Jake Browning is absolutely fearless throwing the football. He's got 5 interceptions in 6.5 quarters of football. He throws the ball downfield. He does not care about consequences, and that's going to be a real struggle here against the Broncos. The Broncos send a lot of pressure. Their pass rush is really, really good. And the Bengals have one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL, both in the run game and the pass game. I expect the Broncos pass rush to just tear up that line and Jake Browning. I expect multiple turnovers coming from this Bengals offense, probably 2 picks coming from Jake Browning here again in this game. The Broncos secondary hasn't necessarily thrilled anybody this year. Their defense had a lot of great expectations going into the season, and it's been pretty good, top 10. But by no means have they been an absolutely dominant defense like they were last year. But I just don't think that the Bengals are really going to get anything moving here against the Broncos in this game. I've got the Broncos winning it. Bo Nix hasn't been overly consistent on offense. But at the end of the day, I just think the Broncos are going to win this game with their defense. They're going to set up short fields with turnovers, tackle for losses, sacks. I think the Broncos defense is really just going to put their offense in a good position to even just go down and kick field goals, like getting the ball at the 35, 40, 50 yard line regularly, so then they can just move 20 yards and go kick a field goal and move on to go play defense again. So I've got the Broncos winning this one. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the picks. Let me know what you think of them in the comments. I'm just really curious who you guys have in that Ravens-Chiefs game. Let me know what your thoughts are on that. And keep an eye out for any updates if I make any changes to my picks. I really don't think that I will. If anything, I might just go with the Patriots over the Panthers if Gonzalez plays. If he doesn't, I will be picking the Panthers. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you next week. Good luck.